Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I am hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we will be talking about this potential for a very large winter storm next week. Now, there has been a lot of changes in the last, I guess, 24 hours since my last video. So I'm excited to kind of show you those and share them with you regarding the weather models. And it's becoming to look more and more kind of clear as to what we might be expecting. And it might be not even just one storm, but it might come in two separate systems, kind of created by one, I guess, pattern that yeah, both of them have really good potential for dropping snow, and where they do, it's unknown, but if they do, it's going to be pretty heavy. Obviously extremely heavy rainfall on the warm sectors of the storm, which will be rather large because of how early still it is in the season. There obviously will be a snowy side, but again, the rainy side still obviously will be very profound and prolific in terms of the intensity, especially with some of the models that they're starting to show. And yeah, overall, just a very active pattern. And I think there's a ton of information I have to go over. I'll try to do my best to kind of keep it shorter, because that's I can make a 3-hour video and probably not even cover all of it. All right, guys. So before we get into this, if you do enjoy this type of channel, these type of videos I make on this channel, weather videos, I'm a weather hobbyist, I'm a weather enthusiast. If you can't tell, I get very excited about the weather, and I know that there's a lot of you out there that do as well. So consider subscribing, consider liking if you do end up liking the video. And if you have any comments or concerns, please leave them down below. And let's start talking about this, as we have, again, a lot of stuff to go over. So first off, I want to let you guys know that the confidence for this storm, it's still there. And I should say it's gone up. Obviously, the chances of a storm are still there, and the confidence has gone up. So it's becoming more and more likely that we will see a snowstorm. Again, where, though, it's a bit confusing. Let me show you this GFS model run and kind of just run through this without really even saying much. Seeing what you notice. Notice, look at that big western storm. There's that first potential for that storm. Again, not that terribly far out. And look right there, boom. That's our second punch. Now, it would be nice. It would be very nice if that was just what every single model showed and we just had some minor differences. Unfortunately, each model has really their own interpretation of what may be occurring. And you can see this is at this point very far out, and we don't even look at anything past, honestly, the 260-hour timeline with much confidence, because again, the models are struggling with these two systems, which again could be occurring really, as you saw, making landfall in the next 100 hours on the west coast, at least a bulk of the precipitation that will be used by them. Notice what you see, a recurring trend is every time we see a buckling jet stream, we see some moisture catches on, and look, it kind of drags on some snow and kind of comes from the south, explodes an area of snow, and then kind of moves towards the east. And I actually want to talk about that, because that is where a lot of the change has happened in the last 24 hours. Okay, so as I take this forward, I want to show you what the GFS does. I mean, I already did show you, but let me just kind of control it now and show you pretty much what I want to show you, and hopefully it will help you understand the situation that we are kind of currently in. So, if you can't tell, look at that. There's that big system. If you recall, I was talking about this already since last week, or sorry, the beginning of this week, and look. This is Tuesday of next week, so it's not that far out. It's 84 hours out. That's some of the short range are starting to get in on that, the short range models. Very large system. It's not a bomb cyclone like we saw the last time, but it is going to drop potentially a lot of precip for California. A lot across the Sierra. Again, that is brilliant news, as the reservoirs, they're still dry. Yes, they saw a lot of rain, but they still need that, and you can see it kind of gets shredded apart as storms do across the mountains. Now, this system, you can see it does move into the plains, and look what this GFS does, the 18Z model run. It takes a storm, and of course, it develops it into a very large system. But you can see, obviously, blizzard conditions if this were to occur, which, again, each model kind of disagrees with each other's. Some put this heavy snow axis a bit further towards the north. Some just keep this system too progressive, and they honestly just don't even show the snowy side to it at all. Some, like the GFS, blow it up across Minnesota and portions of southern Canada and into South Dakota, Wisconsin, you could see right there. But look what this system does, right? I mean, it's already taken advantage of this very, very large trough, but it pretty much creates this trough even bigger. And right there's that low pressure. Out ahead of it is very warm air. Right behind it, it's very cold air. You can see those winds blowing in from kind of the north, northwest, north, northeast. Now, at the edge of all of these troughs, in the southeast corner, I've been saying this, there is always, that's where the jet stream winds are the strongest. They are just howling here at incredible rates in this area. And when you have even a little bit of precip, you can have frontogenesis, or a little bit of moisture, a little bit of energy. And what that means is basically it's quite easy for a low pressure to kind of hang on and just really ride along these winds. It's very supportive of storm development. We're not thunderstorms, I mean large pressure, low pressures of air, right? And notice that you can't really see it that vividly with this first one, but as I move this forward, you'll be able to see it very clearly with this second system. Look, there's that trough. It brings freezing temps all the way into, well, I mean, Texas, the Gulf Coast. It will be a very large blast of air if a scenario like this were to unfold, which again, I wish it was that easy just to tell you, this is what's going to happen, and that would still be a lot of information to digest, but yeah, this is just a possibility, probably one of 100. And I do want to show you that, look, so we have this very dragged out cold front from this large system. We have this extremely powerful trough, very, very strong jet stream. In fact, if I were to take a look at the 200 millibar winds, you could see that this is a very, very, very powerful jet stream. And the winds are obviously howling at what? 160, 170, 180 knots per hour. And that's several miles up in atmosphere. That's not at the surface. And as I push this forward, look what happens with the kind of the remnants of that cold front and this Gulf of Mexico precip. It rides along this trough, and very quickly, boom, you see that? I mean, within literally maybe a day even, it goes from being disorganized precip to just quickly drawn up, very heavy snow, very heavy rain, where the low pressure is fairly strong, and it only gets stronger as it pushes into southern Canada, and it does eventually explode into a rather large snowstorm. And that is what I think the biggest change in the 24 hours has been. And if you need further explanation, it's basically that there will be probably a two-part, it'll be two storms, but I'm just going to call it one for now because it's just kind of all really connected pretty well. And basically there's going to be a first one, wherever and whatever it does, it's going to set the stage for a second large one, again, riding kind of on the trough of this system. So I think it's going to be a two-wave, or if you will, storm. It's probably going to be two separate ones. Something like this, followed by a second one, boom. Now again, this is just one scenario, but I'll show you the other models. They all show something of that kind, again, except some keep the first one stronger, some keep the second one stronger, some keep the second one weaker, some keep the first one weaker, some keep them both. I mean, there's endless possibilities even with just a few models. So that's what it does. And even look, as we push this forward, that trough is still there across the eastern United States. You can see the Great Lakes are obviously producing pretty good lake effect. And look, we still see another system kind of hatch onto that, according to this model, and produce snow across New England. And then that pattern kind of wanes away. And I just want to show you that the 12Z GFS was a bit different. It did show that similar pattern, but it kind of, I'll show you. Let's just watch this. Let me quit talking so much. So notice it shows that system right there in the next really 80 again to 100 hours. Right there's that first wave. You can see this time it was further towards the north, and it didn't really develop as much of a secondary system because it was a bit too progressive, the trough, and really a bit further. It's not as far dipping to the south. If you really want the details, look at that right there. It's not as far to the south, so the moisture that's here kind of gets put up, but it's not all at once. If you recall that the second trough, or the newest model of the GFS, brings that cold air much further towards the south, and it kind of enables a lot of the moisture really eastward, anything east of it, to be scoured up to the north. This one, it's still a very snowy pattern, and it produces a very large singular system, but in the last, I guess, 24 hours, as I mentioned, it's been a trend towards producing a series of two systems, and we've seen that last year, we've seen it this year. I mean, it's a common thing where along the southeastern kind of side of that jet stream, these storms ride and form, and the bigger and deeper the trough, the nastier the systems can be. So this is the model run prior to the one I just showed you, even a different one. You can see it develops that system, and it tries developing that secondary storm, and it actually does. Look at that, boom, 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 and an explosion of precip snow and whatnot. So again, I think that's a good thing, I guess, that the models are now kind of starting to agree at least on a certain thing. Let me show you the European and show you why it could be so different. Look at this one. Look what it does. So for now, again, up until next week, middle half of next week, there's nothing big. But then we see that Western massive beast across, really probably making landfall around the Tuesday into Wednesday of next week time frame. And by the way, just to show you the level of disagreement, see this little guy that just zoomed right there? Some models in the ensemble family still develop something big out of this guy, not let alone anything else beyond that, which there's even more disagreements. So there's several levels to this, right? It's kind of like a pancake stack. Some show that first system developing. If they don't show that, they show this one. If they don't show this one, they show a third one. And then, of course, this is all in a relatively short amount of time, maybe a week. So look what the European does. It develops a system, develops a cold front, develops a snowy side to it, but it can't even call it a storm. It's nothing that big. It's not that significant. It's very progressive. It's quick. Notice, though, it does develop that secondary kind of surge of moisture and that snow, but again, it's much further towards the north, and that snow is very heavy, but it's way out of the viewing area. And what the European does, at least this current one, which again, it will change a bazillion times, I guarantee you, because that's what they have been doing, and that's kind of the characteristic of the weather models. And look what this one does. This is the one that brings insanely, ridiculously heavy rain across the northeast. Look at the kind of the width of that cold front, if you will. That is absolutely impressive. That is concerning because that would cause flooding for sure. At such magnitude, that is just impressive, honestly. It's nice to look at, but it's very, very unfortunate if that were to come true because it wouldn't be so fun to deal with. And you can see that there is cold air that falls in behind that, so any flooding would potentially freeze, just cause more and more potholes, right? Obviously, that's really the least of concerns. But you can see it's still that same consistency right there along that trough. Look, and we even have a third one that kind of tries developing. So again, you could see that, yes, there's the same pattern, the same kind of theme. We have these two systems, these 1-2 punches kind of riding across these troughs. But the European, it's quicker, it's more progressive, and that could mean the world of a difference for, snow, rain versus snow, maybe an icing event, and where that heavy snow falls, how much of it. Now I want to show you a Canadian. So this is an even different model. It's pretty good. I would say for snowstorms, it's again in the top 3 with the GFS and European. So what it does do is it brings that large, massive beast onto the west. It does bring quite a bit of precip, develops it into a decent system, more of what the European does, but it's not as quick as the European, but it's not as slow as the GFS. Does bring some snow, pretty heavy snow for Minnesota and Iowa. And then look, the same thing as the other models did. It keeps this moisture rising from the south along this trough. Now the Canadian fails to bring a secondary system out of it, but what it does not fail to do absolutely is just show absolutely, look at that rain. That is extremely heavy rain. That is a widespread, very heavy rainmaker. Notice all the lakes that are kind of turned on with all that snow. And you can see there's a snowy side to it, but it's just a bit too progressive. But it's like that trough just scours every bit of precipitation out ahead of it, and in a result of that, there could be two very large snow systems. And look at that again, right? Just showing you it. There's that first one. There's that trough digging in. Anything out ahead of it just gets sent to the north. Very, very impressive pattern. And of course, this only takes us to the first half of November, and anything after that is extremely low confidence because, this pattern, we don't really know what's going to exactly happen, let alone anything else. Let me show you some of this accumulated precipitation with what the European shows, especially across the northeast with those rain amounts. Very, very impressive. 2, 3, 4. Again, look at Maine, portions of southeastern Canada, and look at the west, the northwest, potentially 4, 5, 6 inches of rain. So that is quite a bit in terms of total snowfall. Let's take a glance at this, and you can see the European it kind of failed to develop those two systems, so it doesn't show that much really either in Canada or in the US. There are some decent amounts here, but it is an outlier. If you were to take a look at the 50 ensembles, it's probably in the bottom 20 percentile of little snow for the Midwest and Great Lakes. Still a possibility, just kind of trying to put that into perspective. The GFS obviously shows quite a bit more snow because of the characteristics it showed. This is the noon model run, so not the most up-to-date one, but you can see how much areas get kind of dosed with snow. Look at the mountains here across the west. This is the newest model run, the one that came out literally a few hours ago, so you can see there's some changes, right? But heavy snow across the Minnesota area, very heavy snow with that secondary wave of that system. Across Canada, the lake effect is pretty insane. We'll have to see again. Long range models struggle with lake effect. They are showing it, so we know it's a threat. But really, the short range models are gonna do the best job of showing that. The West, the Bitterroots, the Cascades, Nevada, Sierra Nevada, all seeing several feet of snow. So it does again. It's still far out, and I am very excited about this in terms of a meteorological aspect, right? Not really in terms of what may result of this in terms of flooding and snowfall. I always want to make that clear, but yes, as of today, there's a bit more agreement. At least it's that the models are showing definitely something will be there. That's I could guarantee you that. A couple days ago I couldn't. I was just confident. This time I could guarantee you something will be present. I can almost say that it's a possibility now. It's a growing possibility that it will be a 1-2 punch. It will be two systems, as you saw in the fashion of kind of along that trough, taking advantage of that. There will most likely be very cold air behind it for at least a good period of time, wherever and however those systems form. And again, whether or not you see snow, heavy snow, I just can't answer those questions. It's just too early. Assuming this GFS model was the only model we were looking at, I can't even tell you this, because look how much variance there is between one model run, right? And look at the one in the morning. It showed a snowy pattern, but there's just so much variance. But that's not the only model. We have the European, which you could see shows a much less snowy scenario once. Then this was yesterday at midnight, a bit more of a snowy scenario. This was yesterday, which showed even more snowy scenario, really just one singular system. So there's a lot of variance, and we'll continue to see variance until we kind of get more and more closer into time. I want to show you some of these ensembles. These are 51 models, and again, let me show you. Look at all these models show. Some show insane amounts, some show less. You can see this one kind of shows widespread light to moderate snow. This one shows more of a kind of a clipper pattern, definitely interesting. This one does as well. You can see it develops that system that we saw, that first beast further towards the north. This is only showing snowfall, so you could expect if the snow is falling very heavily here, you could probably imagine a lot of these areas would see a very, very heavy rainfall. And of course, that's a cold area. You can see those lake effects snow kind of getting produced. Look at this one, just show you this one. Again, a lot of disagreements. So you can see this one shows a massive storm across Ontario. Just different variations. You can see this one shows a nor'easter, or this one shows more of a southern system kind of track. A lot of variance. I mean, look, this one shows something like this. This one shows like that. Look at the lake effect. Every single lake ends up producing snow. Look at this one, more of a southern kind of scenario. Very impressive amounts across Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan there. And again, the models, each one I bring up is pretty much a new scenario. There's not that much agreement, but they all at least show some sort of a snowy pattern. So we'll just have to wait and see and what this results in. But again, I think it will be very similar to that pattern I showed you, right? The characteristic of that kind of one development of that storm, like the Canadian shows, and then that second one. Now, if you are wondering when this may be occurring, again, details I'm trying to ignore because it's just still kind of so fuzzy. But the West Coast should start seeing the impacts of this by late Monday into early Tuesday. So if you have family and friends there, let them know. It will be pretty widespread across really anywhere from northern Oregon to central California. Sorry, northern Oregon, I meant northern Washington. Really, I mean, stretches all the way into Canada. So if you were to include just the West Coast, very active, right? And that system moves in by late Wednesday into early Thursday. It starts developing of some nature across the Midwest. Could this be a blizzard? Potentially, if the GFS is right. Could be this more of a rainmaker like the Canadian? Potentially. But it's most likely something is going to be there. Very, very cold air behind it. You can see the Canadian drips that 540 line all the way down into southeast Georgia right there. And again, moves into the northeast potentially with that second wave maybe on Saturday of next weekend. And by the time that happens, it's out of here. But, some models continue showing an active pattern with smaller kind of clipper systems moving through. The lakes you can see are all turned on. You can see the variance. I mean, if the GFS were to be more accurate, it's a lot of heavy rain for Iowa, say Missouri, but for Minnesota, Minneapolis, Duluth, it's a blizzard. It's a full-fledged blizzard. We're potentially dropping several inches, if not maybe even a couple feet of snow, and then boom, there's that turn. And then that's for the Northeast the time. Pennsylvania, upstate New York, into much of southern Canada, Virginia, West Virginia, just a lot of snow. And you can see even the third one tries developing there across New England. And again, similar timing. Just it's really what would these systems result in? More of a rainmaker, snowmaker? We'll have to see. It's gonna be active though, folks. Stay safe, stay tuned, and I'll catch you all in the next episode. See ya. Bye.